Over the past few years, I've invested millions of dollars into buying other businesses, whether it's 1% equity all the way up to 100% of an entire business. And in the video today, this is actually a behind the scenes coaching call that I have with my community. Everyone inside of this community makes over $100,000 a month. It's only for people who have agencies. This is a private. I've never actually shared any of these videos online. We do one of these every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. But I figured this was a video good for everyone where I'm going to show you exactly how I structure all my deals when I buy businesses. Again, from a time that I buy maybe a small little sliver of a business with passive income from it, all the way up to a business that I'm fully running and operating. I walk through A to Z with everyone in my high level group, exactly how I do it. I draw it out. I give you the different options. I tell you how to negotiate. So if you ever want to buy a business in the future, or even just invest into one, maybe one where you're advising, maybe one where you're just putting a passive investment, this video is going to show you everything you need to know to be able to make it the right way and not get screwed on any of your deals. For today's call, just letting you guys know, it's all going to be M&A stuff. So first thing in M&A is like understanding, again, this is not based out of an M&A book, not a course, nothing. This is just my experience is all I'm talking about today. Okay. So, if it's stuff you've seen before, great. Some of the stuff is not really stuff you've seen written somewhere else because this is like literally downloaded straight from my brain. So there's three kind of deal types. One is, let me actually delete this arrow. First deal type I call active deals. Second deal types I call hybrid deals. And third deal types is passive deals. Okay, cool. So let's start with the top. So an active deal to me is when I'm going to go and get equity in someone else's business and actively have to participate and grow it on a regular basis. An example would be I go and acquire a majority of an agency. That agency comes, is now a part of my agency, or I own majority of it. Therefore, now I will be doing more work, right? In these deals, usually I can get away with no money, a lot of time, and this is kind of the bracket that I put these deals in, okay? Let's go to the bottom, the passive deals. This is pretty obvious, but no time, a lot of money, okay? So there's kind of two sides of the spectrum here. It depends kind of the position that you guys are in. Most of my deals have been like 1 and 2, active hybrid, and I'll get into hybrid in a second, but it's kind of pretty obvious what it is, right? So the more active you're going to be in the business, the more that's expected out of you, the more that you can negotiate down in money, right? So example, Zach, as crazy as the deal sounds, the deal was done because if you think about the problem, the guy who's actually selling his position was doing a lot of work. Their immediate problem was, I need someone to take off all this work off my plate, but still allow the business to run the way that it needs to run. Therefore, Zach got rewarded with no money, but a lot of time, right? And a lot is perspective. Zach can say, okay, whatever, I don't really have to do that much, whatever. But going into the deal, that is why the deal was happened. It's an active deal. He has to participate. He has to bring things to the table on a regular basis. On the other side of the spectrum, there's the no time and a lot of money deal, right? I'll give you an example. For me, this was Opensend, right? I went to buy a software company. The software company is already putting up numbers. They're already growing. I'm just there to accelerate the growth. They don't need me. I'm not solving any massive problems. I'm just accelerating what's currently there, or just investing passively, either or, right? In this case, it requires no time, or let's call it little time. Either or, just depends how involved you are, and a lot of money. Okay. Now, does anyone here? Before I get into that, hybrid obviously is in the middle, right? Hybrid's like essentially where, hey, how can we work out a deal where I can put in, maybe no money now, but it's paid out over time in some way, shape, or form. I'll give you an example of what one looks like. I just did one. I bought into a company. Let's say I wanted 10% of a company. Okay. That company, just for example's sake, is worth $1 million. Okay. Now, at 10% of $1 million, I would be owing 100K. I do not want to pay that 100K out of pocket. So what I do is I structure some sort of performance deal with this company. I say, listen, I want to own 10%. I want to participate. I can grow the company. We have a mutual deal here. I'm going to be of value to you guys. How can I not pay this 100K up front? So then we set up an agreement. We say, okay, how about this? How about based on the clients that you bring us, we'll pay you 25% of the monthly, kind of like an affiliate. We'll pay you 25% monthly on all the clients that you bring us until that number of 100K is reached. Meaning, I need to bring 400K of business to the company over time in order for 100K to be given back to me in equity. So I'm basically just creating some sort of performance agreement with these people that we can equate to money very clearly based on the results that I can bring to the table. In this case, it's new clients or new users to the platform. And then based on that, I'm getting 25% of it. So even when I did my Opensend deal, I've never really showed anyone exactly how the Opensend deal went. So I'm going to just show you so you understand. So Opensend, here's how my deal went with Opensend. And then I'm going to show you guys some pretty cool stuff that I've been doing. So with Opensend, the company was valued at $12 million. Okay. Does anyone here know what advisory shares are?
Yeah.
Anyone? Yes.
Heard it on Shark Tank.
What is it?
No fucking clue.
Come on, bro. The British voice, like you just sound more educated than the rest of us. Gabriel, you got a guess?
Not really.
You get shares. You get shares based on how you advise, right? You get shares put back, given to you based on you advising the company on marketing, sales, or something like that, right?
Correct. Yes. So basically, what I do, and this is what I try to explain this to someone, and they're like, man, how do you make money? How is this like? How do you reduce your risk when you're buying businesses? Okay. I make my money on all the businesses I buy day one. Meaning, like in real estate, when you go to flip a house, you don't make the money on the flip. Your money's made on how good of a buy you had on the purchase. You're like, I fucking robbed this guy clean. That's where your money's made. The flip money's all the same. You can only sell the house at a certain price point. It's not going to sell above that price point. But where you make your money is how far down can I go on my cost when I'm purchasing it. So the same goes when you're buying into companies. This is why I rarely ever miss when I buy into a company. I'm going to give you an example here. Opensend. I went to buy into Opensend at a $12 million valuation. That's what it was publicly valued at to everyone else. Okay. I said, hey, listen, I don't want to pay on a $12 million valuation. So give me advisor shares, meaning shares for me to advise the company, whatever, one call a month, give marketing strategy, make connections, whatever it is. Give me extra shares so that I'm actually buying at an $8 million valuation. So even though the company on paper is still 12 million, I'm buying at 8. I'm going to explain what that means. Okay. So let's just say, for example's sake, I'm buying 10% of the business. Okay. And 10% of the business is worth $1.2 million. Okay. But I want to buy at an 8 million valuation, which means what is 10% worth? Can someone give me the number?
800K.
800K. Great. So I want to buy at 800K, but I want it to be 10%. And if the company's valued at 12, I'm going to be kind of short on that, right? I'm going to be buying like 6.67% technically. So let's just say there's, in this case, 6.67% is being purchased by me. What I'm negotiating with them is advisor shares back to me in the amount that would equal 10%. So they would then be giving Eddie, in this case, 3.33% advisor shares, which is essentially given to me from the total ownership pool of the company. And Eddie on paper is buying at a 12 million valuation, but on a different piece of paper, Eddie is being granted advisor shares for the business. So what I just did by negotiating advisor shares, I've still allowed the business to be valued at 12 million on paper, because anyone else in the future that goes to buy it or raise money, this is very important. Anyone else that goes to buy it or raise money will look at the previous time that the company raised money and look at what that valuation was, because we can never raise below that. Okay, this is how all these businesses work. So because I've bought in at a 1.2 million and got my 6.67, they granted me 3.3. This is practically under the table. Like no other big investor that comes to buy into this business or to purchase the business or whatever it is has any idea that I took an extra 3.3% under the table as advisory shares, right? So what I just did was I bought the business basically at a 50% reduced discount from where I wanted to purchase it at, right? So now on the buy, I have $1.2 million worth of shares, but I've only purchased them for $800,000. So I have a clean 50% spread on my dollars from day one. Technically, if the next month I wanted to go and just sell my shares and Opensend to someone else, I would have made $400,000 because of the advisory shares that I negotiated. Does this make sense to everyone?
Yeah, the only one question. How do the advisory shares work? What is it that you have to deliver to be able to get that 3.33%?
Fully negotiable. Fully negotiable. It's between you and the business owner. So in this business, this case, Eddie is going to give advice on marketing. He's going to try to connect strategic partnerships. I'm still being paid referrals on my strategic partnerships. So I still make my money like any other affiliate would. But my responsibility is one call a month, an advisor on the product, and marketing strategy as a whole. I'm not actually doing anything. The marketing team is internal. I'm telling them what to do. That's advisory. Once you get past like a couple hours a month of things you have to do for those advisory shares, they're no longer advisory shares. They need to start paying you a salary. And so all these guys know that. So anytime you're buying into a business from a share perspective, which is usually like the passive one right here that we're talking about, this is how you make your money is you negotiate those advisor shares. You say you go and buy a massive 40 office clinic, Gabriel, that you want to buy 5% into. You say, hey, listen, I'm going to put down 3% and I'm going to get 2% in advisor shares. In return, I'm going to help restructure our entire marketing strategy. I'm going to coach and consult our internal marketing team. I'm going to create the lead gen system that I built across all our places, and I'm going to help them, XYZ, and it's going to be in one call every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And then
What's the limit of time? When you say that it's just for the first couple of months, is it 3 months, 4 months?
No, it's not. It's based on the shares that you have vetting back to you. So like in my case, my shares come back to me over 3 years, monthly, monthly, until 3 years. Then I have all the shares. In all these agreements, when you do these advisor shares, it's called vesting. They all vest as soon as the company's purchased. So even if you're getting paid them monthly, the shares, because of your advisory over 3 years or whatever it is, if the company sells, you get all of them up front right away. So there's no effect. Like you're still getting everything that you negotiated because the company sold early. So it has no effect. But this is how in any of the businesses you buy moving forward in the future that are in the passive category, anything in here, passive or even hybrid, you're going to be buying shares. And this is the way that you get the discount. Every business I've bought, I've gone at least a 30% discount on shares compared to everyone else because I've negotiated advisory. It's the only reason I buy them. And it's because, again, they want them up. So if the business doubles, I'm doubling a free 50% of my money on top of my normal money every time. You know what I mean? And so it allows me to be very safe in my investment because let's just say I want to go liquidate my shares under the table to someone else. I knew that I bought them at a 50% discount to start. So it gives me so much more playing room. I could sell them at a discount right now of what the company's worth and still make a boatload of money because I already got a 50% discount on the buy that no one knows about. What's up, Gabriel?
Yes, one question. You said that the other 3.33%, you get paid over 3 years, but if they sell, you get it right away. So what's the difference at the end? Just when it comes to like dividends that you get paid?
No, it's literally no dividends except you holding your end of the contract for the advisory shares.
Got it. So you have 3 years that you have to hold your end of the contract.
That's an example. Yeah, you can negotiate 2 years, you can negotiate 1 year, whatever you
but
want.
on this example that you have with Opensend, that's what you negotiated, like 3 years of advisory to be able to get this 3.33% and be able to get this at a 33% discount on your total shares.
Correct. So now that you understand advisory shares, I'm going to show you how I actually did my deal with Opensend so you understand the whole thing. Okay? Because this is just an example to show you advisory shares because this advisory shares are all of you guys' biggest leverage when you're buying passive or hybrid investments into businesses. If you're going and just acquiring another agency, which we'll talk about as well, it's kind of irrelevant. You're not buying any advisory shares. You're taking over the whole fucking thing, right? So you're in charge now. It's different. Whereas if you're buying into other people's businesses that you're trying to do less work in, which is at this point in my life my favorite thing to do, I'd rather put 500 grand into someone else's company for 5% of it that I know has sold the company in the past, is building it full time, and I can make some connections and give some marketing strategy and quadruple the business and not do anything. You know what I mean? Now let me give you my actual Opensend deal. Here's how it worked. Opensend had a 12 mil value. I wanted to spend 400K buy, but I wanted 10% of the business. Okay, so at 10%, I'm gonna have to pay 1.2 mil value, but I wanted to only pay 400K. So there's a spread here of 800 grand remaining that we need to figure out. So basically what we did was I said, hey, listen, how about this? How about I'll put down the 400K, I'll get 5% for my 400K. And this is because of advisory shares and what we just talked about, right? Okay, so they gave me some advisory shares, whatever. I basically bought my 400K at an 8 mil valuation. There was another 5% left. And at a 12 million valuation, you know, it's going to be more expensive than the 400K. So what I agreed with them was, hey, listen, how about this? I'm going to bring people to the table and we're paying out, you know, 20% in affiliate fees. How about instead of paying 20% out in affiliate fees, you pay me 35% in affiliate fees? And I take none of it in cash. And what it is it goes back to buying down this 800K. So basically what I'm doing is I'm referring business to the business. I'm providing business and connections and relationships. And over time, my monthly check for my 35% is going from 10K a month to, you know, 40K a month to 60K a month, whatever it is. And I'm not taking that in cash. I'm taking it back in equity based on the valuation that I originally bought it at. So even though the business is increasing in valuation, every time I'm taking this money and it's just going back into the shares, I'm getting free shares basically, because now the business is worth double. If the business is worth double, but I'm still buying at the price it was when it was worth half, I'm getting free shares every time. So this is an example of half cash, 400K, half performance, the next 5% on 800K of performance bonuses, where I negotiated in a way where it was a win-win for both of us, right? So there are no rules here, is what you guys need to understand. When you're doing these negotiations, it's all about what makes sense for both sides that are sitting at the table. There's always two sides. That's it. My side and your side. What matters to you? I want you to give us the most business you can. I'm like, great. What matters to me is I want to pay the least cash. Those are our differences. That's what's important to both of us. We agree. So how can we structure an agreement where I still pay you cash, but I pay you less cash, and I get the percent that I want, and you guys have a deal that incentivizes me to bring you more business, but doesn't cost you cash out of pocket to do so. And so we came to the conclusion of this deal. So my first 5% was earned by just paying day one. My next 5% was earned over the next 2 years from affiliate payments that were supposed to be paid out to me. So 60K a month, let's say 40K a month for an example. That means in 20 months time, is that right? Yeah, 20 months time. In 20 months time, am I right? Yeah, 20 months time, then I would earn back the 800K of equity, which is another 5% of the business. But if you think about it, I know there's a lot. By the time that let's say by the time the 2 years are done that I earn this back, the business is no longer worth $12 million. It's worth 100. So I've been buying shares for 5% at a value of 800K, but they're really worth, what is that? $5 million. So not only am I getting this money back to me, but I'm getting it in like a 4 or 5x. All right, is this too confusing for everyone, or does this make sense? I know I'm kind of spinning the whole situation here, but it's about the creativity.
Yeah, I just have one quick question. Because you said you got the valuation for 8 mil. So why is it 800K that needs to pay out in affiliates and not 400K?
Okay, great question. So think about it this way. The original that I was buying it at was 1.2 mil, right?
Yeah.
10%. But I only put down 400. So the remainder was 800 if I wanted the 10%. So instead of making it 600 and 600, I was like, I'll put down 400 cash, and the other half will make 800 from the affiliate side. So I'm still technically paying 1.2. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, the other 800K is just you don't receive the first 800K of like affiliate payments. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So then I started getting all these people to be affiliates on Opensend. Boom. My monthly check became whatever, 38 grand a month. Now it will take me 20 months worth of time to earn the remaining percentage, if that makes sense. Like, so currently right now, let's say for example's sake, I own like 7.8% instead of 10. You get what I'm saying? And over time, that number goes up. But remember, the cool part in this deal, which is why it's so good for me, is I'm still buying those shares at a 1.2 million valuation, right? Or 12 million valuation for the total company. But we just got an offer for 100. So like, I'm getting 800% on my money every time those shares are being purchased because someone's willing to pay 100 million for them when I'm still buying them at 12. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, the only part that I didn't get was why is it if you got the advisory shares and you got the valuation at 8 million, why is it going to be 1.2 million that needs to be paid instead of
because
800?
because I don't want one, this is like how a deal goes. Like one, the original number we need to put to make it fair would be 1.2 million.
Yeah.
I negotiated advisor shares, etc. So I got it at, a 400K for half, right? 400K for half the 1.2 instead of 600K. That's where my advisory shares came in. But I'm also asking in a fast growing company to give me another 5% without putting cash down. And so you gotta pick and choose, kind of, right? It's like, let's meet in the middle. So hey, if we're gonna give you that and we're doubling every 3 months, then we're gonna give it to you at 800K valuation. But just think about it this way too, Gabriel. In return,
Okay, now I got it.
cool. In return,
Hey.
though, everyone that affiliates for Opensend gets paid 20%. I get paid 35%.
Yeah, now I got the spiel. So you got the cash buy that you got it at an 8 million valuation, and then the other 5% you bought it through like performance and affiliates.
Exactly, which
Back to our
total
valuation.
combined, because one was at a 16 million valuation and my cash was at an 8, combined it was actually a $12 million valuation on paper.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How do you increase your affiliate rate to 35 if the base is 20? Like what was that just, hey, these are more valuable networks, or how'd you negotiate that increase?
No, it goes back to 20 for me once my 800 is paid down.
Got it.
Like,
Okay.
I'm like, hey, listen, if I'm gonna pay down 800 and we're gonna do it with like fucking house money, then like let's inflate my percentage to a number that makes sense. So I'm not giving up my cash every day at 20% to go build this company. So let's feed it in the middle. And then they were like, how about 30? I was like, how about 35? They're like, whatever, 35's fine. It's not like we're paying it out in cash. This is just paying down the equity. So I basically gave myself like, what is that? Like a 75% increase on what my normal rate of affiliate income would be. When it goes back to cash, then it's basically going back down to 20%. Does that make sense?
Eddie, Eddie, have you got your agency involved for the growth? Am I right?
Yes. So
And how it was look like a deal? I mean, since they paying your affiliate, I mean, not paying, like it's counted as a buyout, but at the end, how the expenses in your agency?
I've never done a paid service for Opensend without getting compensated for it. And that's because, back to this was a, depending on how you want to look at it, a hybrid or a passive deal. And in these, the expectations are, no more money, no time. If this had been an active deal where I said, hey, I'm not putting anything down, in return, I will give you marketing services, and here's what I'm expecting, and here's how much it costs, and here's how much the value I'm going to bring in services, then that's a different question. I probably wouldn't have paid cash or paid much less cash and negotiated that up front. So I'll give you an example of what one of those looks like, Anatoly, because it's probably better. So there's a company called Scape. We basically bought 1.5% of the business, okay, for about 75 grand. So here's how the transaction went, okay, and this is probably like a really cool way that you guys can do deals for equity with businesses that you work with, that you like, that are in a good spot, that you feel like you can grow. Okay. So basically, Scape, I knew they were raising some money. I said, hey, listen, how much do you still need? They said, we'd love if you guys could put in, 100 grand. I said, okay, well, we could do 75 right now. Okay. So he said, okay, 75K. They're like, great, 75K would be great. I said, great, I agree. That being said, I want you guys to allow us to do your marketing. We've done it in the past. We crushed it. You left because we were too expensive. So let's come back to the table and let's do marketing together. And then I quoted them whatever. And let's just say, again, for example's sake here, I quoted them 6.5K per month. Okay. I said, hey, listen, we're going to do Google. We're going to do XYZ. It's going to cost us 6.5K a month. They said, deal. So based on this number, this is, I think, it's a little bit off, but like, let's call it 12 months. Okay. Of retainer for the 75K. So what we did was bad marketing, sent Scape 75K. And then Scape sent bad marketing back 75K for an advance on an annual retainer. So I gave them money, got money back within 24 hours. I bought shares with that money. That money came back to me as a retainer for the rest of the year. I was out zero. And what happened is now I have equity in this business that we're growing. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, you still have cost because you're paying out of pocket now and you basically put it towards equity and you're not getting 6.5K a month because it was your own money. The cool part is we're only a month in, and this retainer has already gone from 6.5K a month to 11K a month because we've added more services. So now I'm depleting our money that we've put in to 6 months instead of 12 months. And by month 7, they'll be paying me a retainer monthly. So I basically gotten a client. I've gotten equity in their business. I've come out virtually nothing out of pocket. And we're just washing money from one pocket to the other. And essentially now they're paying us an 11K retainer plus performance. So in high months like summertime for them, we might be making 15 to 20 grand a month from this account. And it's pretty damn hard for them to fire us considering we are shareholders in the business as a whole and we're the ones that know the most about marketing. And so we've secured a long-term marketing contract for ourselves. We've secured equity in the business for ourselves. Now we're negotiating additional advisory shares on top of what we had to be able to get from 1.5% to 2.5% of the business. That way, when they sell for whatever, $75 million at 2.5% of the business, we're talking almost $1.9 million cash payout. But don't forget, the whole time they're paying us a retainer. It's not like that retainer is just gone and we're doing it for free. We agreed on the money up front. We did a wash back and forth for the shares. And now they're basically paying us a retainer from that credit, but it's going to turn into cash here shortly, if that makes sense.
Is there any conditions that they will buy you out back if they don't want to pay you anymore, like 11K as the last time they left you because it was too expensive?
No, but that's a marketing contract. So they would just like not be a client anymore. That's it. My shares are still my shares. Yeah, it's pretty much legal.
Hey, Eddie, who's doing all this paperwork every time you do these deals? Like it sounds like a lot of paperwork. Like who's like you got to look because when we were just together, you say, "Yo, I'm not really doing a bunch of lawyer stuff." So all these 1.5s and these certain like who's doing all the paperwork to secure these deals? Because I come across deals that I'll be locking up, but I gotta finish the paperwork. Like yeah, we got agreements locked up, but we gotta actually make sure we're finished. You putting that in a holding company? Like, how are you doing all of that?
Yeah, great question. So, all of these are owned by a company that we named Bad Investments, or I have my own Maloof Investments, which is different than Bad Marketing, because I do a lot of deals myself that aren't bad marketing related. So all our deals are from one holding company called Bad Investments. They all go through there. Paperwork for most of these deals, Neo. Back to this original one. Okay. Anything in the hybrid and the passive, I know you weren't here for this, but basically there's 3 kinds of deals we do. Active is like no money.
I saw it. But you could.
Okay, cool. So anything in active requires the most paperwork by far. because like you're buying their assets, you're trying to make sure you're not buying their liabilities. There's like so many contractual, there's fucking 18 papers you have to sign. When we went and merged with Ashton's business, we went through fucking 23 different documents. When I went and bought the chicken franchise, I went through 23 different documents. I had to buy all the rights, all the patents, all blah 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 blah, all this other shit, right? Anytime I'm buying like 10% or less from a business, it's under the hybrid or passive side. There's like virtually no paperwork, bro. There's one paper, which is there's really two papers. So one is a stock purchase agreement. Okay, so I'll just give you the papers here. So one is a stock purchase agreement. The other is they call it the plan. Okay. This is like the main doc. This is like, you never sign this doc. This is the plan doc. Everyone has access to the plan doc. And it's like, in our plan, we have 100,000 shares in the company. You know, here's how they're distributed, blah, 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 blah. This is the plan. So the plan basically tells you like, it's like the template. It's the map. It's like, okay, there's 100,000 shares. So if I'm buying 10%, I should be buying 10,000 shares. So then you have another doc, which is your stock purchase, which will say Neo is paying X amount of money for 10% of shares. So there's really only two main docs. Most these companies, I'll tell you guys, when you invest like this, Neo, they call it a safe. This is a term you'll see a lot. They're like, how are you raising money? And it's a safe. Let me just SAFE stands for Simple Agreement for Future Equity. Okay. Most of these companies raise money in the form of a safe. Okay. And when I first heard it, I was like picturing like a physical safe and like trying to understand what the fuck they're trying to say. But all this is just the easiest way for them to give you stocks. So they'll say, okay, we have our company is worth, you know, $2 million. We're raising 200K in the form of a safe. So if that 200K is filled, then it'll be worth 10% of the whole company. If it's not filled, it'll be worth less, right? And so I'll show you, you guys are gonna laugh your ass off, but like I literally do like $250,000, $500,000 deals off ChatGPT. I'll show you right now, and it's not anything complex. I'll tell you. I'm just like tired of using fucking lawyers. So I upload this safe, which is a document that has, you know, how much I'm raising. And now I'll look at this agreement. This is like when I was like still trying to figure out like how to prompt these things. Look at this agreement, tell me what the details are, and it'll go through literally purchase amount of rights, trigger events, everything I need to know. I'm reading it. I'm like, okay, great, I'm protected. At this point though, here's kind of how I do them. Like I am aloof from signing to purchase shares in a company named Scape. I should be investing 75,000 in exchange for shares. Can you tell me what these documents say in a detailed summary and clarify risks that might be in there for me, as well as the amount of shares I'm purchasing and their current percentage value of the overall business? And then boom, it'll walk it through. You're buying at this price per share. Your total is 75,000, approximately this many shares. Post money valuation is this much. So there's valuation levels when you're buying into companies. So post money valuation means what are we valued at after we raise this money. So if the company's worth $2 million and they're raising $1 million, that means post money valuation they'll be worth $3 million because they'll raise at 2 and then they'll have 1 in the bank. So they'll be worth 3. So that's what post money valuation means. So literally, you're so funny, Zach. I know. Just ignore my ChatGPT shit here. But basically, this is. I mean, I don't need lawyers for these purchase agreements anymore, Neo, because like they're all the same. I've been through so many. They're all the same. You're exchanging money for X amount of shares in the business, and all you are negotiating is how many more shares you can get in advisory shares. Which, in your position of power, Neo, just because these people look up to you a lot, you're going to be able to get some pretty significant advisory shares out of these people. That's in the first place why they want to do a deal with Neo, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yep. Thank you for that.
Yep. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much everything on the passive and hybrid side. Gabriel, you asked, isn't it a bit risky? What's a bit risky?
No, when you said that you're doing like all the agreements through ChatGPT.
Dude, I'll tell you this. I've bought and sold probably 15 companies. A lawyer will gouge me for 30 grand to 40 grand. And just to be clear, if I'm buying like an agency and assets and anything active up here, I'm going to use a lawyer. Okay? Every time. And I'm going to get gouged for 30, 40 grand. I bought Scoville, bro. The whole business I bought for 130K. I only put down 67K, and my lawyer fees were 42. You get what I'm saying? Like, I negotiated such a nasty deal for myself just to pay an extra premium of 30% on top to my lawyer, like, and basically ruin like how awesome the deal was as a whole. And so, like, most these deals in the category 2 and 3, you're just buying shares, bro. And so literally, if I showed you the documents, like, I mean, I could show you one right now. Like, it's nothing. It's like to pay a lawyer to read, like, 6 pages of like template doc, and then charge me fucking $300 an hour to read it, and say it took them fucking 3 hours, when it'll take them a whole week just to get back to me, when I can just chat GPT at midnight and fucking full send. Like, it's just so much easier. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a lawyer to tell me these things, because it's just a stock purchase agreement. There's no risk. The only risk is the company failing that I'm investing in, but that's your job to kind of do the due diligence to do so. I'll tell you, when I do any of these hybrid or passive deals, I look for some things that are super important. The most important one for me, sorry, let me pull this document up for you so you can see. Cool. So like, I invested in this company. I bought literally like 1% of the business. This business will sell for probably $500 million in the next 2 years. I'll take it. I'm putting in 200K. I'm buying 1%, 20 mil. It sells for 400 mil. I'm coming out with $4 million in the next 5 years, just randomly hitting my bank account that I don't know about, right? So this is where I put most of my money. Like, a lot of people put their money in different places. I look for like booming businesses that are moving so fast, and just try to lock in 1 to 5% of them as quickly as I can, because those are all 10 to 20x flips. So this is the entire doc, bro. Certifies that in exchange for payment of this, investor is putting in $200,000 into this Delaware company. Discount rate, you see this discount rate, guys? Like, this is what I negotiate with them, right? So back to the advisor shares, like, the company's worth 24 million. I'm buying in at a 20 million valuation, if that makes sense. So I'm getting a 20% discount off the normal price of the business. So I'm already winning. So like, if I take my shares and go sell them to someone else, they'll be willing to pay $24 million for them, whereas I bought them at a 20. And then this is it. This is like, bro, how many pages is this? 6? And that's a signature page. 4.5 pages. You know what I mean? Like, why would I pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to tell me what's in here, when ChatGPT, I can literally ask it, like, this is who I am, this is who they are, what are all my risks, this is the state that I'm in, read this. It can do everything, right? It can go and be like, oh, this is a Delaware company, and then tell me everything that's wrong or right with it being a Delaware company. And I'll literally ask it, tell me what's good for me, what's bad for me, where are my risks, what's wrong. And then if everything's clean, I just send them the 200 grand, and I invest in that business. Again, this is a passive one, right? This is like the most passive example. I'm buying 1 to 2% of a business. I'm not doing shit. And it's a massive company. We're doing $1 million a month recurring as a software right now. It's retarded. So we're heavily undervalued. So I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity. And the bigger you guys get in the business world and start creating more networks and relationships, the more you'll get deals across your table, because most deals come through like friends of friends. Like, someone follows me, they're like, oh, Eddie, I know Eddie's legit from his content, or I met Eddie, and then they go and tell me, hey, I got a friend who's on this company's board, they're raising money, do you want info? And then I'll have them send me a deck, financials, everything. I'll get on a call, I'll look, and if I like it, I'll make a purchase with those guys. But like, it's so many of them across my desk that I decline for most of the time. But like this one that I just showed you, Gabriel, they started in April last year. In October, they were doing 150K a month recurring revenue, not recurring, but just revenue as a software, right? In December, we did $1 million a month. That's how quickly they're growing. And so you can imagine by next December, we might be doing $5-6 million in that month. I mean, for a software business, I just totally got a steal, and this business is easily going to sell for $250 to $500 million, and I did nothing. But I get to say, what up? I was the 5th biggest investor in this company. You know what I mean? And we sold for $500 million. How many more deals am I going to get in the future from that? You know what I mean? Just being the guy who invested as the marketing advisor in sold, 5 different companies for over $100 million. How many more people are going to bring me money and deals and give me insane discounts and advisor shares just because of I did that? You know what I mean? So that's the game that I'm playing on that side. We got a hand up, and then Anatolia, I know you're trying to ask a question. Yeah.
Hey, quick question. So are they issuing you a K1 each month, or I mean each year? Are they giving you a K1, or what ongoing documents do you get for?
Great question. So it depends. It depends what you're buying. So if you're buying common stock, you're not getting a K1. You're only getting it on the exitable event. Yeah. So most of my deals I don't have a K1 from, because I just don't. I would rather get at a massive discount and not get a K1, because here's the thing: most of these companies, Jay, they're just trying to sell. And so they're not trying to stockpile profits. They're trying to spend almost all their profits. You know what I mean? And whereas some of these businesses, they're like, they are bound to be profitable no matter how much they try to spend. Those ones I'll negotiate better stock so that I can get K1s. But again, most of these businesses, I mean, most of them just aren't like profiting like that every year. They're just trying to build exit value, right?
Right.
And so basically they're just climbing. Most of these companies, can you still see my screen? Most of these companies, basically here's what they're doing. They're worth 0. Then they're eventually worth 5. And then they'll go and raise money, let's say here, at a 15. And they're basically just trying to over and over pin a new higher valuation. So then it's 50 and they're raising money, right? So here's how you got to think about it. They're trying to pin their valuation higher and higher. So Opensend, for example, we got an $80 million, $78 million, I think, cash offer, like to buy the company. We declined, and instead we took $10 million cash at a $110 million valuation, so that we're repinning our new valuation as 110. So that the next time we raise money, it has to be at, 200, just an example, right? And so your goal as an investor in these situations is this: can I buy between this 5 and 15 point? And then when we go to raise at whatever, 50, 100, whatever the next raise is, can I sell half my shares off the table at that 5x price, 10x price, whatever it is that we're now raising more money for? Because someone's going to come to the table and buy shares at that price, that new price. You could put up your own shares and be like, hey, I'll sell my shares at that price. So for example, for Opensend, this is what I did. Let's just, again, for example's sake, let's just say I have 8% of Opensend and we're sitting at 110 million valuation and they want to invest $10 million. I go, hey, what's up? I'll give you 4% of my 8% at 110 million valuation. Give me cash for that. And then they'll in return give me $4.5 million cash for my 4% at 110, but I still keep my other 4% just in case the company keeps doubling. I still got my skin in the game and I'm making money, but I've already come out at a 10x on my cash, and I have another 10x on my cash in stock. So at each of these events where they're getting more money, you can sell your shares that you previously purchased, which is really the name of the game here. You know what I mean? If you can put it in something that's doing well, you can put your name on it, number one. But number two, you don't have to wait till the whole company sells. You could just liquidate at every single raise event that they do, all the way down the line, right? The hidden benefit behind all of this that I'm showing you guys that I haven't even talked about yet as agency owners is if you buy companies that are in your vertical. So Gabriel, dentistry software businesses, dentistry, whatever it is, like mass level dentistry, enterprise level companies. If you buy 1%, 2%, whatever it is in these businesses, now you're a partner in the business and you can create an insane referral system from the businesses back to your agency. So imagine Opensend that has 1,600 Shopify stores using the software, and I'm selling to Shopify businesses. I don't even give a fuck about the 400 grand. You know what I mean? I can literally, as long as they weren't referred by an affiliate, I can literally go handpick whoever I want and be like, hey, intro me to that guy. Oh, fuck, that brand's doing $2 million a month. Intro me to that brand. How much money in retainers am I going to make compared to my $400,000? If I just get 30K a month in retainers, I'm making my 400K back just in retainers, and I still have all this equity and money that I'm telling you guys about. So the real goal is, how can I go and create these relationships? Right now I'm in a negotiation with, I'm not going to say who it is, but it's a really big split testing software for Shopify. Huge. Apple's one of their clients, like massive clientele. And I'm negotiating. I went to them to like create an affiliate relationship, and I was like, hey, you guys ever allow partners to invest? And they're like, oh yeah, we're actually considering it like here upcoming soon. And then now I'm negotiating with them on advisor shares. Bad's going to come in. They're going to buy a percentage, whether it's Bad or Eddie, it doesn't matter. It's all the same to me. Not on paper, but like from a relationship standpoint. And now they have 10,000 users using Shopify. 70% of them are Shopify Plus users. Bro, I cannot get to these guys spending fucking 50 grand a month in ads, but I can if I'm the software company that they all want to use, because everyone fucking hates the agencies, but they all love the softwares that they want to use and the plugins and the apps and all these things that they use. So if I just own those, even just a percent, now I am the only agency who has ownership, and I can basically funnel all that money and clients back into my own company and have like a two-way relationship, if that makes sense. So that's like this massive hidden benefit that I haven't talked about yet. Not all my investments are like that. Like the Hello Gov one I showed you has no relevance to sending me business back, right? But I just know it's a really sick passive play that I could put my money into. Jay.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. So what if it's a smaller company? They're like, here's a specific example I'm looking at. This company does, it's a virtual golf studio, and they want to turn to a franchise model. They do 50K a month, about half of that profit, and they're about to do 5 new franchise locations where they'll just do like a turnkey model, and they're trying to do $1 million raise. I'm looking at doing a potential offering of like building out the dashboard for all their franchise locations, and putting together a marketing proposal on it too. So anywhere from like, call it like a 50 to a 150 grand engagement. So like, how would you think about approaching something like that in terms of equity, where they don't really have a valuation, or any valuation is going to be really skewed just because, you know, they're doing an active raise right now. They're a smaller company. They've only done 50K a month per,
You muted yourself
month.
on accident. You left that they're a smaller company. They don't have a valuation.
No, I'm setting appointments. So I'm trying not to have a lot of background noise.
And it's all good. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Are you done?
So
Okay, go.
Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, I don't know how to answer this. All right, Jay, can you hear me? Just give me a sign that you can hear me.
Hey, I'll send you something after. I'm at an appointment, so I'll have to follow up with
I
you.
have a really good answer
Okay.
for you, but I'll give it to you later.
Okay.
Don't give them money. Zach.
My question is, how do you do due diligence in the actual companies? Like knowing that they're going to grow, knowing that they're have good partnerships, good people inside the companies, all that kind of stuff.
Great question. So my number one rule out of all of them is they have done this before. Anytime I've ever invested in a company that has not had people working, founders, the heads, C-level, whatever you want to call it, who have done this before, meaning grown this kind of business and sold it, I will not participate in ever. Anytime I've done it, I've had troubles. I've had to pull more weight than I expected. Things go south, and it's just because a few things. One, they've never done this before, so they don't have the connections. Okay. A lot of this exit and raising money and shit like that is connections. Okay. At the end of the day, the person who has the most connections to banks and private equity and all that stuff will have the most opportunity and chance to sell their business because they have those connections. They could group chat 10 people and be like, yo, what's up? We're at this point where we're raising money. Who's interested? And 5 of them will raise their hand because they know Zach and they've already worked with Zach before and they trust Zach and they had a successful exit with Zach. And so Zach has all these connections now with all these people versus someone who's never done one of these deals before. These banks question them. They're, hey, this is your first time. It's like getting a car loan. If you've ever gotten like a really expensive car loan, the first time's fucking hell. They make you feel like a bitch. I had more money in my bank than my dad. I make more money on my income statements than my dad. And they still made my dad sign as a fucking cosigner for my fucking $100,000 BMW. I was like, what the, how does this even fucking make sense? Like, I make more than him and he's the co-signer. Like, stupid shit like that, right? Because it was my first 100K car. But then after that, it was all me on my own because, like, oh, Eddie's been here. He bought a Lambo. Give him the Ferrari. Don't ask him questions. Just give him the loan. You know what I mean? We're good to go. Give him the lease money down. We trust him, right? That's how it is in the banking world, from cars all the way to $100 million businesses. And so the guys who have done it before and have those connections, have that experience, they know what it takes. And they're also usually the most lethal headhunters, which is the next thing I look for, which is like the talent on the team. So for example, Opensend, we're like, okay, we're recruiting the head of partnerships from Klaviyo. We're recruiting the head of affiliates from Postscript. We're recruiting boom, 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 right? I'm like, sick. These are people in the industry who know people who have built these platforms for other software businesses. They're coming in and working here. These are people I trust as a team to get the job done. They're all incentivized with equity. And we have private equity people on the team who have these connections with banks, et cetera, when we can actually purchase. I'm interested. This is a great product market fit, which is like, honestly, like, I mean, the obvious one, which is, it is number one, is like product market fit. Okay. Like, I only look for shit that solves like a problem big enough where I believe like, so like HelloGov, I invested in it. What HelloGov is an AI software that basically lets you do any sort of government paperwork in seconds for any kind of travel, any kind of motor vehicle stuff, home registration, anything like that. Instead of going and figuring out the Secretary of State's website and the tax commissioner and all this fucking bullshit we have to do and jump through hoops, you go to HelloGov.ai. You could do it now. You could be like, I'm in Croatia right now. I'm an American citizen and I want to take a trip to China, Nigeria, blah, 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 enter. Boom. Here's all the visas and everything you need to do. Would you like to do them? Press this. Yes. Boom. Done. They're done. That's it. You don't need to fucking sit here and do all this other shit. Same for car registration, license renewal. You go, I need to renew my license. You know, here's a picture. Boom. Confirm. It's going to be $79. Done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this solves a huge problem because there's like government, which is a fucking dinosaur. And then there's all this tech and apps that we're using, and there's no bridge in between, whereas HelloGov is the bridge. Now the government and the people can all communicate from a phone instead of ever having to go into a fucking office and wait for paperwork and sit in line in a smelly lobby. You know what I mean? Like, it solves a massive problem. And so I was like, done. I love this. And the growth shows it, right? So that's one thing. Two, financial growth is like, you know, everything. P&L, financial growth. Most of these companies that you're going to invest in, Zach, at this level are not going to show profits. We're used to profits in the agency, right? We're like, oh man, you're not doing fucking 100K a month, you're a bum. But they'll be doing 400K a month top line and 20K a month bottom line. You know what I mean? And it's okay because that's how these businesses work. And that's kind of your advantage to buying in because these businesses flip a month. Like HelloGov, again, it went from like, we're not profitable doing 150K a month to the next month, $1 million a month, 400K profit. Like that was a swing, was 30 days. In 30 days from the time I bought to the time after, that company probably went from a 20 million valuation to a 60 million valuation, like in 1 month. You know what I mean? That's the gap. And so you need to make sure there's a great product market fit. And the cool part now is there's like fucking ChatGPT is a god at this. I used to like have my CFO go there, read all their P&Ls, tell me how it is. It'd take like a week back and forth, maybe 2 weeks. Bro, now I throw that fucking spreadsheet in there. I ask it like, give me the trend, give me what I should look out for. Where are the outliers? Where are the most expenses coming from? Why aren't we profitable? Is this a company that's trending upwards, downwards? Why? Boom, 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 boom. Just ask it a bunch of questions. I just keep going back and forth. And literally it'll outline everything for me. And I'll be like, that's a clear picture. And then as intuitive business owners ourselves, it's our choice to make the decision if we're willing to front X amount of money to be a part of a business like that based on what the information is on those sheets, if that makes sense. Make sense? Great questions. Brad, how much voting power do you try to get? None. Unless I'm doing an active deal where I'm acquiring a majority of someone else's business. But if I'm doing these passive deals, which as you guys like go up in the business world, you'll start realizing these are like the best deals, better than stocks, better than all the shit. Because like stocks, you're owning 0.00001% of the business. And this, you're at least owning, even though it sounds so small, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. A company that could go $250 million, 500 million, could IPO at $1 billion and go public in the stock market, and you own 5% of their shares. And the cool part is you don't have to do anything, and you also don't have this like full-on panic stress when like stock market drops by 20% and you're looking at your money going in the hole. It's not, because it's still sitting in the valuation of this company that you're not even looking at, right? It's not going up and down like that because it's not a stock market. So it's been a pretty cool vehicle for me. And again, like Opensend is one deal out of probably 12 that I've done like this. And Opensend alone, those haven't come to fruition fully yet, but they're all valued more than what I bought them for. But Opensend alone will pay for every investment I've ever made into every other company times 2. So I'm already up on all investments times 2 in 12 different companies just because of Opensend. So everything else is extra profit and gravy on top. And the cool part is, for most of these businesses, guys, if you're American, your worst case is you're paying 15% tax. Your best case is the first 5 million is free. So your first 5 million profit in most of these businesses, because they're C corps, they're meant to sell. Your first 5 million of net is free. So like if I invest $1 million and I make 6 back, I pay 0 tax on all 6 million because I only made a 5 million spread. I only get taxed 15% of the 5 million spread. So it's a pretty cool idea, just for context. Cameron, and then Daniel, I see your message.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, at what point do you start considering looking into these? Are we talking like as soon as humanly possible, once you've got 100K saved, you want to start looking into these investments?
No,
Or
no.
does it? I didn't think so. It's like you really want to be in a good position where you can allocate like 400, 500K to an investment, or?
I would say start moving forward, taking a percent of your profit every year personally. That's the excess, and putting it aside to do deals like this, but never, ever, 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 ever force yourself to do a deal just to do a deal. This is the most important thing for all of you guys, okay? Your first 20 that come across your table will be shit deals probably, okay? And I'll tell you the biggest mistakes I've made is, and don't get me wrong, all my deals are up, okay? All 12 are up from the time that I bought them. I'll take an example like Hello, okay? 6 months before Hello Gov, I invested 500 grand into a different business, okay? That different business is growing, but it's not like fucking 10x every year type shit, right? It's growing, right? It's, don't need to think about it, whatever. Then Hello Gov came across my table, and I started looking at the numbers, and I was like, holy fuck! I wish I had the other 500 that I business right now to put into Hello Gov, and my opportunity cost now is so high because I invested in another deal. I have to say no to this one. But I forced myself to, I put myself in a really tight spot. I did not have that extra 200 G's at the end of the year to make that deal happen. Actually, how I made that deal happen, can you still see my screen? This is some fucking next level fucking money laundering shit here. So this is Eddie. As you guys, for those of you that have been here long enough, you know I have an insurance company. My insurance company is like my biggest tax write-off. So basically, my insurance company insures all of bad marketing, all of my other businesses, and then we pay them a premium. And then all that money that I paid to the insurance company is tax-free. So what I did was I signed a 200K premium for 2025 with the insurance company as Eddie. I sent them 200K, which is tax-free because I paid it to the insurance company. And the insurance company bought the shares in Hello Gov. So I bought them with no money, with no tax, if that makes sense, fully tax-free. It's kind of a little crazy loophole, but I was kind of squeezed. I was like, fuck, I have to put in like 300 grand into my insurance company before the end of the year to write off taxes. And then I started figuring out, I was like, okay, the insurance company can just buy the shares.
Are you coming up with these loopholes, Eddie, or is a financial advisor, we have a strategist coming up with these loopholes? Like, this is some CPA shit, dude.
This is definitely some next level shit for sure. I've been working with different tax advisors for years, bro, and I'll tell you, like, if I just let them do what they wanted to, I would never find these loopholes. Because I press so hard, bro. I'm like, yeah, well, what if we do it this way? What if we do it this way? I'm like, what if I move it to here and do it to here? Oh, I never thought of that. Maybe that could work. And then they go and start asking some lawyers, and they come back to me like, it won't work because of this, but we could do it this way. And then I just go back and forth, and I keep pressing. And I've kind of got to the point where I know what's right and what's wrong and what's going to work and what's not going to work.
So you're coming up with the strategy, and then you're letting them know, do this, this, and this, and then there's like a yellow You got green, you got yellow, you got red, and you're pressing right around the yellow mark.
Sure. Case, my only thing was I just wanted to put money in HelloGov, right? So it wasn't like this
Gotcha.
crazy strategy, but I was just basically like I'm on camera and I just put 500K cash in another business that now looks like at the time was a good investment, but now it looks like a bad investment because I have a much better one sitting here in front of me that I could have put the 500K to, but I wasn't able to because I didn't have it. And I was kind of tight at the end of the year on cash. We have to pay for agency founders. That's $500,000. You know what I mean? Like all this shit, like
No, because that's slick as fuck. How you had your insurance company buy the shares in HelloGov. That's so slick.
yeah, so that's basically how I did it. I was like, I have to pay the insurance company anyways. Can I go ahead and put it through there? And they said yes. So I literally, again, if you notice most of my deals that I love, one pocket to the other, right? I sent it to the insurance. They sent a wire for 200 grand to HelloGov. HelloGov approved. Insurance company now owns it.
But your insurance company, sorry, last one. Your insurance company is holding the shares at HelloGov?
Correct.
Damn. As an LLC? As an LLC, correct?
I think it's an LLC. Yeah, it's an LLC.
And then operations, do you operate as an S Corp or C Corp?
There's zero operations, bro.
Damn. So just investment strategy.
It's literally a holding company, bro. This is honestly, I'll tell you, life hack, and I just filmed a YouTube video on it. It should be dropping soon. This insurance company, bro, is like my life hack. Let me give you an example. What I've been doing for the last 2 years is I insure as much money as I can possibly afford to my companies. So let's just say whatever, 300K a year, example. So I put 300K a year at the end of the year into this company. I can do whatever I want with that 300K a year within reason that a normal insurance company would do. Most insurance companies are like banks. Okay, so they invest their money. So basically what I do is I put it in the insurance company. Then I take it and I have a Coinbase account for my insurance company, not for Eddie. And I go and I buy Ethereum fully tax free. You get what I'm saying? Normally I'd take the 300K, I would get taxed 40%. So I'd only have 180 grand to put in Ethereum. Instead, I'm putting it in the insurance company. I'm buying a full 300K of Ethereum. And when Ethereum goes up, whatever it does, I'm still only paying 15% on the exit. So I'm basically putting an extra 40% on top of my money for free every time I invest by running it through the insurance company, if that makes sense. So I probably have just as much money, maybe more in the insurance company as I do in my like personal investments.
That makes a lot of fucking sense, dude. But yeah, that's slick.
It's definitely some top G shit for sure that no one talks about. But like, it's because look, and for us on the call, we're agency owners. For those that live in America and stuff, like we can't write off taxes for real estate like real estate professionals do. You can go buy a whole building and the guy who's a realtor will write off 500 grand of it in taxes and you'll write off like 60. That's the gap. And so like I started figuring that out. I realized by making a few real estate deals, it's not going to work that way. So I basically stashed my, it's pretty cool.